Picture a street in Amsterdam. The houses leaning over the canal were built in the 1600s. People are living in them right now, 400 years later, with Wi-Fi, dishwashers, and heated floors. Now, picture a brand new American suburb. Fresh paint, perfect lawns, $500,000 homes. Engineers who study them will tell you something almost nobody says out loud. Many of these houses have a design life of about 50 years. Some of the materials inside them carry warranties shorter than the mortgage used to buy them. The most expensive purchase of your life, built to roughly match the length of the loan. That is not an accident. It happened on purpose. It has a start date, 3 specific causes, and 1 country on Earth that took the idea even further than America did. By the end of this video, you'll be able to stand in any room of your house and read its expiration date off the walls. For most of human history, a house was the opposite of temporary. European masonry homes were built by people who fully expected their grandchildren's grandchildren to sleep in them. And early America inherited that instinct, with one advantage Europe didn't have: the forest. Pre-war American houses were framed in old-growth lumber, wood from trees that had grown slowly for 100 or 200 years before they were cut. Slow growth means tight rings. On an old beam, you can count 40 rings per inch, packed so dense the wood resists rot, insects, and warping in a way modern lumber physically cannot. Today's plantation pine is harvested at 20 or 30 years old. You can count its rings on one hand. Same species, completely different material. Walk through any American neighborhood built before 1940, and you're looking at the result. Original beams, original floors, original windows. A century of weather later, still straight. Those houses had a quality nobody advertised because nobody had to. They were overbuilt, stronger than necessary. That was simply what the word house meant. So what happened? 3 things in sequence: an emergency, an invention, and a discovery about you, the buyer. Let's take them in order. The emergency was 1945. 12 million soldiers came home to a country short 5 million homes. Couples were living in attics, in cars, doubled up with in-laws. The pressure was enormous, and a builder named William Levitt answered it by treating houses like Fords. He broke construction into 26 repeating steps, sent specialized crews from lot to lot like an assembly line moving past the product, and at peak completed up to 12 houses a day. A 4-room house for $6,999, 0 down for veterans. Families camped overnight in the cold for the chance to buy one. Levitt solved the housing crisis. He also, almost as a side effect, redefined the product. Before 1947, a house was a craft object built by generalists over months. After 1947, it was a manufactured object assembled by specialists in weeks. And manufacturing has a law that crafts don't. Every component gets value engineered, made exactly as good as it needs to be, and not $1 better. Speed won the emergency, and speed never gave the title back. But the emergency only changed how fast we built. The next catalyst changed what we built with, and this is where the expiration dates enter the walls. By the 1950s and 60s, the old-growth forests were gone, logged out. The industry needed a replacement for wood that took 2 centuries to grow, and engineers delivered a parade of inventions. Plywood, then OSB, oriented strand board, wood chips glued under heat and pressure, finger-jointed studs, engineered I-joists, vinyl siding from 1958, asphalt shingles rated in years instead of generations. Every one of these was cheaper, lighter, faster to install, and everyone shared a property the old materials never had: a service life printed on the spec sheet. Asphalt roof, 20 to 30 years. Vinyl siding, 20 to 40. Builder-grade windows, 15 to 25. A modern water heater, 8 to 12. And OSB, the material most new American homes are wrapped in, has one fatal allergy: water. Old-growth lumber gets wet and dries out. OSB gets wet, swells like a sponge, and never fully recovers. Here's the right way to think about it. A pre-war house was one material, wood and brick, that aged slowly and together. A modern house is a stack of countdown timers, each component expiring on its own schedule. The house doesn't fall down at year 50, it just crosses the line where the timers go off faster than most owners are willing to keep paying. Which raises the obvious question: why would buyers accept this? And the answer is the most uncomfortable part of this story, because the answer is us. Sometime in the post-war decades, builders discovered something about buyers that quietly redesigned the American house. People don't pay for what they can't see. Put two finished houses side by side, one with premium framing, thick sheathing, copper everywhere, one built to the legal minimum. On the day of sale, they look identical. Granite countertops sell houses. Studs don't. Stainless appliances sell houses. Flashing details don't. So the money migrated to where the eyes go. Kitchens, bathrooms, facades, and the structure became the place to save. The industry even coined a polite term for it, builder grade, which translates roughly to the legal minimum in beige. And this is the status shame twist this channel keeps finding everywhere. The market stopped rewarding permanence because permanence is invisible. A 300-year wall and a 50-year wall photograph the same on Zillow. In a culture where the average owner sells after about 13 years, paying double for centuries you'll never use isn't noble. It's, financially speaking, irrational. Everyone behaved reasonably. The houses got worse anyway. Now the detail that reframes every new development you drive past. Americans hear a house is built to code and relax. Code sounds like a quality guarantee. It isn't. Building code is a minimum safety standard. The structure must carry its loads, resist its region's wind and snow, and let occupants survive a fire long enough to get out. That's the job. Durability beyond safety is nobody's legal responsibility. A house can pass every inspection and still be, by explicit design, a 50-year object, because code was never asked to care about year 51. And the entire system around the house quietly agrees on that horizon. Mortgages, 30 years. Component warranties, 10 to 30. Insurance depreciation curves, similar. The average owner, gone in 13. Every actor in the chain optimizes for the same window, and nobody in the chain is paid to think past it. The 50-year house isn't a conspiracy. It's an equilibrium, which is worse because conspiracies can be exposed. Equilibriums just continue. But if you think 50 years is short, there's a country that looked at the disposable house and said, "Hold my beer." Japan. The most technologically advanced construction industry on Earth, and the average Japanese house is demolished after roughly 30 years. In Japan, houses depreciate like cars. The building's value falls towards zero within a few decades, and buyers routinely purchase a lot, tear down a perfectly functional house, and build new. Part of it is earthquake codes that keep ratcheting upward, making older structures feel obsolete. Part of it is post-war rebuilding culture. The result is a housing market where, unlike America, nobody even pretends the house is permanent. The land is the asset, the building is a consumable. Why does that matter for an American video? Because Japan accidentally ran the experiment to its conclusion, and the results are visible. Enormous construction quality at the top end, almost no old housing stock, and a culture with very little concept of the family home as a physical object passed down. America is partway down the same road. We just haven't admitted which road it is. Meanwhile, Europe sits at the other end. In Germany or the Netherlands, masonry construction and homes routinely passing between generations. 3 rich societies. 3 completely different answers to the same question. Is a house a place or a product? Here's the honest part, because this channel doesn't do outrage. The disposable house is also the reason so many Americans own one. Building to European masonry standards costs roughly 2 to 3 times more. And at that price, the post-war middle class never gets houses at all. Cheap, fast construction put tens of millions of families under their own roofs, built the suburbs, built the equity that funded retirements and educations. Both things are true at once. America made home ownership possible by making homes temporary. Europe made the opposite trade: permanent houses, fewer owners, later ownership. Neither answer is free. The difference is that Europe knows it made a trade. America mostly forgot it was ever a choice. So tonight, do one thing. Stand in a doorway of the place you live and look at the walls. And now you can read them. If it was built before 1940, you're inside wood that grew before your great-grandparents were born. And it will outlast you without being asked. If it was built after 1980, you're inside a stack of quiet countdown timers. An honest house, built precisely as long-lasting as we were collectively willing to pay for. Not bad houses, honest ones. The old ones are still out there, a century deep, doing exactly what they promised. Maybe the question isn't why we stopped building like that. Maybe it's this. If your house were built to outlive you, would you have paid the difference? Tell me in the comments. How old is the building you're sitting in right now, and what country is it in? Europeans. Drop the construction year. You reliably break the Americans' brains. Americans, would you trade 30% of your square footage for walls that last 300 years? I read everything. Subscribe. This channel decodes why America was built the way it was. And there's a video right here about the material America abandoned to make all this possible, the brick house.